Let's begin with UK, where the latest crisis is the fuel shortage, and now in the latest with an aim to quell public fears after panic buying left fuel pumps dry across major British cities. The Prime Minister Boris Johnson, he said, situation has started to improve now and was stabilizing as well. The UK Prime Minister assured that the government was making preparations to ensure supply chains were ready for the run-up to Christmas. Johnson also urged motorists to fill up their cars in the normal way. He added, people must be confident to go about their business.
I want to say, first of all, how much I sympathise with people who've been worried about their journeys, worried about whether they'll be able to use their cars in the normal way to see their loved ones or whatever it is. And I know how frustrating and infuriating it must have been to worry about a shortage of petrol, of fuel. We now are starting to see the situation improve. We're hearing from industry that supplies are coming back onto the forecourts in the normal way. And I would just really urge everybody to just go about their business in the normal way and fill up in the normal way when you really need it, and you know, things will start to improve. What we want to do is make sure that we have all the preparations necessary to get through till Christmas and beyond, not just in the supplying the petrol stations, but all parts of our supply chain.
And Boris Johnson also ruled out priority access at petrol pumps for key workers. This was the first statement by the UK Prime Minister since the fuel supply problems began. The clarification comes right after Transport Minister Grant Shapps, he said, Brexit was one of the factors that played a role in fuel crisis. Opposition leader, he has lashed out at Boris Johnson and accused him and government of lurching from one crisis into another. But despite the Prime Minister's assurance, lengthy queues were seen outside gas stations across London. As per Reuters report, some forecourts had also put up signs boards warning no fuel was available. The post-Brexit death, in fact, overall of the issues there were, the dearth of truckers has been witnessed as well, and it was worsened by halt to truck driving license testing during pandemic. It has sown chaos through supply chains, raised spectre of widespread shortages, price increases ahead of Christmas and a prolonged rise in inflation. To tackle shortage of drivers, the UK government is bringing in measures such as issuing temporary visas to 5,000 foreign drivers. The British Retail Consortium has urged government to broaden size and scope of its temporary visa scheme. The Petrol Retailers Association PRA said there are early signs that pressure on petrol stations was beginning to ease.
Got is a global economy that is recovering from what has been a once-in-a-century pandemic, and that has caused some particular shortages. I've mentioned a couple: HGV drivers and gas. And those shortages are a function of huge global demand, but we're meeting them. And what we have is all sorts of plans in place to make sure that as we go forward into the new year, that we have everything necessary to protect our supply chains and keep things moving. But as I said, what we're seeing now and what we're hearing now from industry is that the situation on the forecourts in our petrol stations is stabilising.
Britain's business minister has said soldiers will start driving tankers to replenish empty pumps as fuel shortages continue. Soldiers had been mobilized and would be driving tankers within a few days.
Well, it takes anyone versed in military defence issues knows that it takes a couple of days, sometimes a few days, to get troops on the ground. We've decided to do that, and I think in the next couple of days people will see some soldiers driving the tanker fleet. I'm not guaranteeing anything. All I'm saying is that I think the situation is stabilising. I think people realise that this will pass, and we're very, very focused on making sure that we get enough drivers. We've stood up military drivers, and we want to just make sure that we get enough petrol into the forecourts that can actually mean that we have enough supply for demand. And it looks like, when we look at the figures yesterday, it looks like the situation is stabilising. The inflow of petrol matches the sales.
WION now available in your country. Download the app and get all the news on the move.